How's it going, everybody? My name's Dave Whipple and you're watching Cheap Wheels. With a lot of old vehicles, one of the things that really goes is the ride. A lot of that is due to the struts. On this particular car, I've changed the struts 3 times in 310,000 miles. Let me show you how easy it is to change a set of struts. We're going to start by loosening up the lug nuts on this wheel. Then we're going to jack the car up from a point that's going to allow the wheel to drop down fully, because we have to get all the pressure off that strut in order to get it out. I'm going to have to remove a lot of this interior plastic covering so I can get to the top of the strut tower. Every vehicle is different, but the objective is the same. Accessing the top of the strut tower so we can undo the nuts that hold the strut in place. On this one, there's 2 nuts, and I have to take off all of this plastic covering just to get to that point where I can get them out. But it only takes a couple minutes. It's pretty simple and pretty straightforward. Your vehicle, of course, is going to be different, but the idea is the same. Just get to those 2 top nuts. We'll pull this piece out. That's what you need to get to right there. That's the top of the strut. You take those 2 nuts off, and that will drop right out of there. There we go. Now I've got the nuts completely loose, but I'm going to leave one on just to hold that top of the strut in place while I undo the bottom. Now once the tire is off, we just need to take off these 2 bolts, and that will free the strut. There's a clip here we're going to have to remove also. That holds the brake line in place. Start by cleaning off the threads on these bolts. Just because these guys are so gross, I'm going to give them just a little shot of penetrating fluid. Now let's get that clip off. Just going to stick a big screwdriver in here and gently pry. I don't want to pry on that hose. Here we go. Now the thing I love about a job like this is anybody can do it. So many people out there are afraid to take their car in to a dealership or to a mechanic because they don't know if they're going to pay for stuff that they don't need. Best way to get around this is to just get used to working with your own vehicles, doing little jobs like this, and getting the confidence and the know-how of how your vehicle is put together. That way, when you need something done, you can dive in and do it yourself. You get a bolt like that really doesn't want to come off. Just to get serious with it right up front. Now you can see the jack is the only thing holding up this car. That's because I'm not working under the car at all. It'd be very unsafe to work under a car using only a jack. Even the fact that I had to put a cheater bar on this nut to break it loose hasn't moved this bolt at all. So this bolt is pretty frozen in there. I think I'm just going to hit this with just a little bit of penetrating fluid. Here I'm going to stick this socket on that nut and drive the bolt out with a hammer. There we go. Now I probably should have come out here and sprayed this a couple days ago. I'm going to have to pry on the bolt, the flange of the bolt that is, as I turn it to help back it out. Getting these rusty old bolts to come out of here, probably going to be about the hardest thing to do on this job. I'll just stick a little punch in here, tap that sucker out. There we go. There we go. Getting the bolts out of this wheel bracket, that's basically the whole job. Now that they're out, we're going to go back in the inside of the car, take off the other bolt that holds this strut in, and it'll come right out. That strut is totally free, and it's ready to come right out of there. The replacement strut we're using, this comes from Advanced Auto. This is their CarQuest Premium strut, and at least it's new, right? We're going to take the nuts off that are going to hold this strut up in place. That little metal spring will catch the edge of the strut tower opening and hold that strut in place while you go around the vehicle and put the nut on. Now the real fight is going to be getting this knuckle down, putting in the first bolt. Sometimes the best way to get this to move the way you want it to is to take a lug nut Put your lug nut on your stud. Put a cheater bar over the whole thing, and then just use it to lever. Just kind of wiggle it as I push that bolt through. That's about good. From there, just tap her in. Beautiful. There we go. Now there's the torque spec to this nut bolt, but I don't have it in front of me. I do have it, but I don't have it right here handy. I think the best bet is just to get it real solid and move on with life. Oh, that's good. Put that clip in. Tap that little bugger in place. Beautiful.
I've got some brake parts lubricant at hand, so that's what I'm going to use on my bolt, just to keep it from freezing in there. Now the driver's side is exactly the same as the passenger side. Once you've done one side, the second side, of course, will go much quicker. Before you know it, we're done, ready to put our plastic parts back on. Now these particular struts have two identical holes for the bolts, and they're not adjustable. So once they're put on, I'm pretty much ready to go. If they were adjustable struts, they would have one lower hole that's round and one upper hole that's kind of egg-shaped. That would allow you to adjust the wheel in and out. If you had adjustable struts, your next step would be to take it in and have it aligned. But I don't have adjustable struts, so I'm ready to head back out on the road.
And just like that, you've taken a job that's going to cost you $500 and turned it into a project that only cost you $200. The only problem I really had was getting the bolts out. If you live in country with a lot of salt, that's always going to be a fight. But that's pretty much the whole job in a nutshell. Get the bolts out, change a part, put another one in. Save some money. Thank you guys so much for watching Cheap Wheels. Keep your junk on the road. See you soon.